실질적으로 좋아요. 도지체 같이 들릴게요.
So today, can everybody hear me? Okay. Today, everybody who came here, my dear Dharma friends who came from far away, I'm very happy that you came, and thank you very much, and I would like to extend a warm Dashidele.
속바 중경적인 거요. 다 치고 담배 주지 잡아내나 강인들이 담배 주지서는 미집 그는 엄청 찍잖아요. 만한 가다니면 생기 상태 모두 상태로 해. 대 상태 대화서 님이 탑 너희들 잘 탑던 거예요. 대답은 니네는 미 가만히 돌면서 참아야지. 우리 사실은 까는 생기 상태 대화서 제 너희들 잘 때라서 하면 꽤 덩치고래 오늘 최고 다 최고 때는 레벨 최고다 리얼해.
So even though this is a very small group, it accomplishes a very great purpose. Even if only one single person were to practice the holy Dharma, if the intention is to practice for the sake of all other sentient beings, which are boundless as the sky, all mother sentient beings, then this becomes very meaningful. Having the intention to bestow them happiness and to separate them from suffering. Now, according to the Buddha's speech, and also we have gathered here, in order to, with the intention to bestow happiness, to look for methods to bestow happiness to all sentient beings and to liberate them and separate them from their suffering. So this has a very high purpose, this is very meaningful, and it will bring about great results. Generally, there is two traditions. There is the worldly tradition, and then there is the spiritual, the religious tradition. When we look at it from a worldly perspective, then somebody with a worldly perspective looks for means to bring about happiness for this lifetime and for means to be separated from suffering for this lifetime. From the Dharma perspective, we are looking for methods to bring about happiness in this lifetime, but in all following lifetimes to come. And we are looking for methods to be liberated, separated from suffering in this and in all following lifetimes to come. And depending on our karmas and fortune, we are meeting these religions. So in that sense, all religions are excellent.
때는 렘바이지 제 마도 강하냐 나야 요만이 근데 제 마도 왔고 탑 나만 다 소리로 마도 돈은 별로지 그네 렘바이 근데 코너에 때는 쭉 담지 뭐 이렇게 집발에 별로 집발에 제시고 해야지
So, whichever religion or tradition one encounters that depends on the karmas and aspirational prayers that one has done in a previous life, to whichever religion one connects to that depends on one's karmas. Here, in this gathering, in this assembly, when we are making aspirational prayers for in the future to be again encountering the Buddha's teachings, then again in the future we will enter the Buddha's teachings. Generally in Buddhism there are 4 different traditions, and this particular one is the Kagyu tradition. They all have the same aim, they all have the same goal. There may be some slight differences in approach, but they do have all the same goal. It is to realize both 2 types of bodhicitta, conventional bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta. Conventional bodhicitta being the realization of the incontrovertibility of the workings of karma, cause and effect, and the ultimate bodhicitta being the realization of emptiness. So all those traditions are applying methods to bring about this result of realizing both types of bodhicitta. So there are various types of methods, but there's only one result, there's only one goal that all the traditions have in common.
양철이 탑top 제로 잡아야 말이지 신이 양철이 저라 되게 초초하게 간게 피나 어떻게 양철나나 이 나무 잡아야 맞지 거래 이만 탐지 잠오리 얘나 소소를 내가 핑거도 어리 집안 달래 좀 내가 핑송 상태에 양철이 말이야 오 유바 저거 니 유바도 꽤 맛이 말해 유바 얘가 가야 말했어 드리삼 좀 너무 오래 너가 침보래 돼. 그라 소리 좀 타서 소리 좀 하지. 오늘 개밥 좀 타서 봐 탐지 좀 하리면. 아소 냠이 제기돼. 자와리 문고요 말해. 오늘 탐지 장보래. 오늘 소리 냠들 리바데. 소리 강령들 나가. 내가 뒤에 내가 통다 적인 인상 하고 오래.
So the practitioner meets with those teachings depending on karmas and prayers that have been done in a previous life, and everybody needs to practice whatever is most beneficial for him or herself, understanding that the ultimate result is one and the same. There may be again different approaches, but the inner meaning, the final result is one and the same. So therefore one needs to go that way that is most beneficial for oneself. When one, for example, is doing a practice and that is very beneficial for oneself, and then one says, oh, my lineage is the best and all the others are nothing, then one is doing a very great mistake that is very wrong, because this becomes biased sectarian teaching, dharma. All the great scholars and great accomplished masters have said that maybe a different approach to practice, but all the practices are good, since they all lead to the same result. So this is something important that we need to understand.
일제로 사지 종대에 그 특별한 만나봐 나초 성로래. 이 강의들은 강사하게 되니 시랍 제총, 로독 제총 예를 들니 이 신기 남자 싸봐서 보이세요. 제다와 되니 빼는 보고 총총은 보고 총총을 갈아 돌로 며칠은 며칠을 갈아 돌로 뭐 개발은 갈아 돌로 다다를 이는 이게 민 초하라 되다오나 이 최초하라 되는 이 장기게 가장 소중한 거다 되는 쓰고 요래 원본은 다 쓰면 되네 你送我来。
忘不送的。
忘不让人他生命，忘不让人他生命。
So the Buddha has taught many paths of practice, many vehicles, depending on the mental disposition, the intelligence, the mental scope of sentient beings. For example, a small child has certain types of foods and certain types of clothes that it wears. Somebody who is a little bit older, again, has other types of clothes and food that he needs. And then somebody who is very old, again, needs different types of food and clothes. In the same way, there is an appropriate dharma depending on the mental scope of the individual. Generally, there is a dharma for the highest mental faculty, mediocre, and lesser mental faculty. So we have those three grossly those three different types of mental ability, mental faculty. The highest one, the mediocre, and the lesser one. So what are those? How can we understand those? The highest one, the individual with the highest mental faculty, does have great merit that he or she carried from a previous life, having already made imprints and habits being used to Dharma practice, and having high intellect and great compassion. Then the individual with mediocre mental faculties does have some devotion to the Dharma and does have a little bit of habituation of his or her mind regarding the Dharma, but has very little wisdom. And then the individual with the last mental faculty, the lowest mental faculty, has accumulated a lot of non-virtuous actions in the previous life and has not habituated his or her mind to the Dharma, and therefore finds it difficult to understand and to realize the profound meaning of the Dharma, has very little intelligence and compassion. Of course, all of those beings do possess the Buddha cause, the Buddha nature. It just varies. They vary in their degree of compassion and wisdom. The Buddha has said that all sentient beings, without exception, do have Buddha nature, have the Buddha cause in their mind. The difference, what makes them higher, mediocre, and lesser mental faculty, lies in their degree of their extent of wisdom and compassion.
다스타나로 보러 쪽에 다 대위체 관장들나 얘는 소바디는 이제부터 지라메 같은 언제 또 그냥 간다래 대주 카카차로 사실 가려고 그러면 자동차로 해서
쭉 langzamer 사마디
사마디 지라메나 저기 특별히 그 준비에 넣어면 같이 늘 특별해서 나는 사마 공부하는 일이 되려고도 언제 가려에 넣어서 자동 잡혀요. 대별나 사실 깔아요. 뭐 소주 광고도 사면 양전이 그러면 빼는 다른 것도 되는 막 야용을 와. 자. 루카민들 야용아. 제 고바 잡는 용으로 내가 까마 나게 내버려. 나도 못 하다는 용을 까마 쫑하고 와. 그래. 나 매일을 하면 따뜻해 눈이 치고라 그래. 나 고바 잡는 용을 나 까마 나게 내서 뭐도 못 하다니까 제도 빨로 까마 쫑하고 또 가리고 그래. 시락 쪽으로 소주 광고를 뜨는 광고 넣었더니 따버려 맞아서 그래. 책 찍고 용어는 그냥 넣어서 넣어라. 이따가 싸움을 안 넣어야지.
So from within the vehicles that the Buddha has taught, there are two main vehicles. The causal vehicle and the resultant vehicle. The causal vehicle focuses on, or is also called the scholarly vehicle, where it focuses on the realization and the meaning of karma. Then the resultant vehicle, where one has already had some habituation of one's mind through a previous life, is the vehicle of secret mantra. Now, when somebody is low of intelligence and may ask, the causal vehicle talks about karma, only talks about karma, cause and effect, and the resultant vehicle only talks about emptiness. So that person may have some doubts in both of them. But one needs to understand that the teachings of the Buddha are trustworthy, and there is a teaching that is appropriate for each of the mental faculties. For example, this morning when we came up here from the Lama house to the center, somebody walked and the rest of us drove, and the person who walked only walked 5 minutes, and we drove with the car and it took us 15 minutes. So the person was just walking slowly and arrived here in 5 minutes, but we were driving really fast and it took us 15 minutes to come here. So this means according to our disposition we have to go our certain paths, and one should not just look or listen to the words and take it very literal, like thinking, it takes much longer to drive here with a car than to walk here. So when one only listens to those words, then one might have doubts and might wonder. But one needs to understand that every path that one is going one is going in accordance to one's own disposition and faculties.
대양 대다원나 대양 저 참아 양탄이 사기는 노도 상거리 이라 시랍지 보면은 들이 상하를 남다 갖고를 시랍지 보면은 아마가 오바다 시고를 봐 시랍지 보면은 공리와 공나바냐 나는 오바자를 패고 까마나 패고 너도 뭐라 상칸도로 까마도 맞고 시랍 평평당 저 못하다면 또 이제 남탄이 주담 전에 노래들이 약골 노래 소리 시랍도 봐 그래.
So we cannot all say, we all have to go there, we have to walk the exactly same path. It is really depending on our own dispositions. If somebody has less intelligence, less wisdom, it is difficult to practice secret mantra. Like for the example, today somebody just walked here and it took him 5 minutes, and the rest of us drove with the car and it took us 15 minutes. So those that drove with the car are like the ones with the low wisdom, who have to depend on practices of first listening and pondering over the teachings. So one needs to apply that path that suits one most. So, and today we will also talk about the tradition of the Kagyu lineage. First of all, the Kagyu lineage is a lineage which is called the practice blessing lineage, and we are mainly talking now about MIlarepa, the life story of MIlarepa, disciple of Marpa, as you have requested. So there is many different life stories and stories about MIlarepa to be found all over. Here, the text I'm using, I have it in Tibetan script, and it starts on page 306. And there have been many different disciples who wrote life stories about MIlarepa. This particular life story was written by Ina Bieler. So if you later on were to study that, then you would know who was the one that wrote, what was the teaching that I heard, and who was the one who wrote that life story. And later on, when you will study the 100,000 songs, then that will be very beneficial to know. And in any case, whatever I teach you, I would like you to look and to study afterwards as well. So the page actually is 202. Sungyani, 302. Sorry.
집주는 뭐지 되는지 답방 차는 거는 또 남자 또 그가 되는 거 또 여기 뒤감이 공을 페페거래 공을 페페도 강리해 되나 로뇽지 어래 로뇽 받으나 공을아 가사가 앞에는 라라도 치야 여기 대반 요그래 어래 라라가 덩그리 라 예피체 그래 대 탐지라 차당에 로뇽 좀 되니 라레 칼라야 버테 라레 또 버테 라레 덩그리다 드리디 제 로뇽을 드리니가 차당 방을 탈라 값으로 로뇽 돈도지서 값으로 로뇽 돈도지 값으로 되나 오 딱바나 차로데 그리고 값가서 나 서로를 줘요 이 가리는 줘요 로뇽지 차당 똑같은 거 로뇽 오 야보지나 제가 잡아 먹었어. 좀 옆보지는 제가 신차제야 말이에요. 동 들이chen 옆주체는 들 고소라야 뭐 제일 좋은 형들 와. MIlarepa. MIlarepa 그런 거. 이 MIlarepa 로모를 와. 로모 가리를 도 요리잖아. 깜짝으로 좀 넘었어요. 자당 로용 같이다. 자당이 냠냠지. 잡아야 매와. 그래서 자기가 마다고 치. 자당이가 좀 같이 배우지. 로모들 로모. 알았어?
네 부모들 제대로 못
네, 부모들 지금 상주로가. 난 MIlarepa 부모도 부모도 몰라요, 그래. MIlarepa 부모 용나 아니 부모들 전부 다 용거로가. 하고서 부모들 다 지금 봐 정례를 그래. 정례로가. 그러더니 MIlarepa 랩로가. 아마 가라고 어디 부모지요라. 이 MIlarepa 가리는 도 없고 지시거로가. 아 MIlarepa 가라 매는 거 보여 말이야. 지 돈이 많지냐. 하고서
니 뭐랑 기 MIlarepa나 기 sama.
MIlarepa 처음 보는 거지. 먼저 들어 내들이 보는 거니까 MIlarepa 다 보면 정말 바로 보면 그런데 미 나가래 보면 진도 하라면 뜻하는 거 어떻게 나긴도
그때 부모들 좀
어떻게 보면
MIlarepa nya padam ni
예.
너무 자기 MIlarepa 우선 데려와 뭐라 뭐라는 놈이
So it is on page 302, and I would like you to study that in the future. Now, the person who wrote this story, Nyama Podolbom, she was a woman, a girl, and having great merit that she carried from a previous life, great karma that she carried from a previous life. In her next lifetime, she was born as a girl and she became a disciple of MIlarepa Garchen Rinpoche. Now he was practicing single taste. That means having no attachments and having no aversions. Whatever happens, whether it is good or whether it is bad, whether he receives good food on his tours for begging for alms, for food, or bad food, there is a single taste. There is no difference for MIlarepa. So he was sometimes staying in retreat, and sometimes he was going out in order to practice that single taste. So in order to practice not to be attached to the good, and not to have an aversion or getting angry when one gets beaten. So he went out to ask for alms, to ask for food, and he came to a household where there was a farmer girl, and he was asking for food. And this girl, who then became his disciple, is the one who wrote this life story.
아주 좋은 거 보여주고, 저는 MIlarepa 뭐뭐는 도나, 이 파크는 미만 보고 생각하고 생각 마을이고 돼. 생각 나서는 지금 미만 보여로 봐. 저는 MIlarepa 송 다나 손에 MIlarepa 나 다나 쇼케를 가라 토마도 나 타라도 줄제로 지라라. 미만 보는데 저는 부모 가도 이래도 부모직 남자 MIlarepa 대박이에요. 내가 지금 산도 없어. 부모 되게 나를 감바 파카리 요리 저는 그 감바 되는 송 나 내가 지금 나 팔을 용기 MIlarepa 뭔 감바는 뭐도 MIlarepa 땅으로 와 MIlarepa 파천리 감바가 뭐지 동로와 뭐 답다시 요리 뭐든 나는 사송 뭐 나는 사송 나는 막이 기가 뭐라 랩을 봐. 라야 그 똑바로. 라야 그 똑바로 라라가 타라. 좀 꼬마해서 타라. 미 타라. 와, 그 좀다. 꼬마래도 좀 먹게. 꼬마래도 좀 예. MIlarepa. Tapi tamu dulu tamu cilang kamar lewat, cilang ngalu pemom lewat, cilang ngalu kamar dah lewat, magi je tu. MIlarepa thala jaksong cilang, MIlarepa thala jaksong cilang. Ini MIlarepa thala maja cilang sama pun. Tamu pintar cuci lah. Cilang tamu joni tu cilang tu dewa joni. Ada cilang kowa dunia ni cuci leka mango ciori. Tapi pernah ni cuci selfop ni pernah boleh. Ada cilang thama dah gay ni cuci jadi cilang khala orang mewa, rana orang mewa patri. Papa lagi ni boleh dapat mewa cilang patri cahaya orang pernah. Cilang sama orang tu ni mau tamu ni taruh tu ni gay tu ni dunia ini nanti dunia MIlarepa cilang tiada song tu labir lah. Ini gemo. Ini tak kan sungguh di sini ini mau debati kalah saham, lakukan kalah masa saham, ini debati juga. Ini MIlarepa. Ini pemot lepcar. Apa saham tidak, itu boleh. Kalah masa saham, ini gemo debati sendiri.
So, one day MIlarepa went to for his tour to get arms food, and he came to a big fields of farmers, and there were many people, and he came there and he told them, I did not have anything to eat this morning, please give me something to eat. And there was a girl amongst them, and immediately she aroused great devotion to MIlarepa, and she thought, oh, he is very precious. So she told him, my house is over there, you go there and I will come after I finished working. So he went there and he knocked on the door, and the door was so in bad shape that as he knocked the door immediately fell down. And then he went inside, and inside there was a very old mother, a very old woman, and the woman thought that MIlarepa was a thief coming, and she had ashes in her hand, and she was about to throw them at MIlarepa, and said, oh, you came here when when that girl is not here, so you can steal from me, you are a thief. And then MIlarepa said, do not throw the ashes, think first. So he gave her a Dharma teaching, and he said, in the beginning you were blissful and happy. In the middle, you have to work hard and experience the suffering of samsara, and in the end, you are old and have no independence and can't even take care for your own food. You are just living like a pig which does not have an owner. Think about. So he taught her basically the four sufferings of birth, old age, illness, and death. And then the old lady, she came to senses, and she thought, oh, this is really true, he is right. And she immediately aroused strong devotion to him, and she let the ashes just fall down. And then, oh yeah, that's a part. The old lady.
뭐 먹어도 고모를 봐. 뭐 먹어도 고모거든요. 진짜니 또 그러면 나는 내가 봐. 뭐 양 컨트롤한. 제가 주바래. 제가 주바 나오 말에 뭐 또 많이 동 같이. 안 어. 제가 주바 나오 말에 말하려고 된 거야. 말하려고 된 게 뭐도 말이만. 내 콜을 대요래. 내 콜을 대니 그거는 주제요래. 그 주제가 내 비동만 나니까. 어때나 진이 양신 제대 공부할 때 진짜 볼 자도. 이 뭐야 참나 말하는 바퀴. 이 말하는 바퀴야. 아까서
Kim lackiert und konservativer MIlarepa.
예, 다도 막이 막이 고모호로라는 막이 그 고모만한 공사 동동 말이야. 말 고모로라는 거예요. 내가 고모 주시요 얘기하다가
So the old mother let the ashes fall down. First she was very on board, holding the ashes up and was about to throw them to MIlarepa. And after he taught her teaching, she softened up and just let the ashes fall. Then she was crying, and the girl came home from the field with carrying the crops. And the girl got very angry, and she said to MIlarepa, "Oh, I thought you are a Dharma practitioner, but you are not. What are you doing? You are like beating my mother. You're beating the old mother, and you are destroying the door. You're letting the door fall down." So she was very angry with him, and she beat him. And then the old mother said, "Don't do that. Don't do that. I got angry at him. He told me the Dharma, and he really benefited me greatly. He didn't beat me. I was wrong. It was my anger." And then so the girl agreed, and she was happy when the mother said that.
그 나라야 저는 다 MIlarepa 잘 MIlarepa 대사 아주 다 하고 자 다처럼 주바는 저랑 라마칸 주바칸이 그러지 뭐 주예요. 뭐지 주바칸이 그러지. 거기 주바더니 주거권도 담고 돌기장 원고 돌기장 주거권도 담고 원고 돌기장 니 주거 상지 은혜자다 주거관라들이 공 유바테에 주거는 거 똑같은 게 어때나 똑같은 주거는 거 똑같은 게 해야지 유바.
So then she took MIlarepa to her family, and she was asking him questions. She asked him, "So if you are a practitioner, what is your lineage?" And he replied, "My lineage is the three kayas, the Dharmakaya, the Sarvogakaya, and the Nirmanakaya. The Dharmakaya is Samantabhadra, the Sarvogakaya Vajradhara, and the Nirmanakaya is our Buddha." So this is my lineage. My lineage is the three kayas, the Dharmakaya, Sarvogakaya, and Nirmanakaya.
유바 다시 버려도 저 중고 지모데 주롱 지모데 푸데 강내 지모로 독가는 차도 저 주균도 강내 지모로 강내를 지모로라 저 주균도 뒤쳐서 제야로 말라 오페도 강내 지모로 주균 용하는 뒤쳐서 제야메라 유바 빼자 지모로 해서
And she replied, "Your lineage is very precious. It's a very precious lineage. It is like a river that has not been interrupted, that is flowing down amongst the mountains and is never broken."
유바티였다고나 이 둘 라마까지 이거지 먹지라. 라마 가지고 되나? 기준 설명서 사이가마 설 예비신이 거 나니 라마 드리브 시라비가 그래. 동거 주바 동주 semna 동거 라마 강이 되더니 라마 라비 semna가 상계요 그래. 그래서 그래. 사이 라마 예비신이 그래. 나도 라마 산죽 sem제. 싸움 라마 라비 드리브 시라 상계 강 sem제 사제 좀 먼저 그래.
Sanglam.
사자팀일까?
Isanglam wala.
네. 설랑상 송글라마서.
And then she asked him, "So who is your teacher? Who is your lama?" And he replied, "Well, my outer lama, my outer teacher is my spiritual guide. My inner teacher is bodhicitta, and the secret teacher is mindful awareness, which is the realization, which is Mahamudra, and the Buddha inherent in the mind."
이 라마티가 당시 셀그 급발을 여 이가 방에 셀그 급발을 여기요라. 여 you said, didn't Lama Juba Tachi on the road. Lama did one Kalishway, one Kalishway, one Juba Kalishway.
So then she replied, oh, your teacher is as precious as like a golden necklace with turquoise. And then she asked him, but which empowerments did you receive?
One, Papa, what told the daughter to say one should I eat. Then I think, oh, Ranga Lu Pong, listen, you are the Tunisians, Sanjig and Jojima, or Jawarama, Jujima, Hakor, Mango one top songs. Then this hour was in the Ranga Sem, they loved the thing, Sanjima, or Ranga Sem, Sanjima, more she's on this hour one day, one some, one three top song. You keep it up, go ahead. But I told the job was one, other locker, Toman, Nipo, Doru Juba, I said, Nipo Doru Juba, the side of the Tawa, more she's on the day, or someone, who you want. Shall I get a bit of how to take it out?
So she asked MIlarepa what was the empowerments that you received, and MIlarepa said, I have received outer empowerments, where I understand that my body and my mind, its basis, has the cause of Buddha, understanding that it is in the nature of the 5 Dhyana Buddhas, the 5 Buddha families. I have received the inner empowerment, and having recognized the nature of mind, which is the meaning of Mahamudra, understanding it being the Buddha, I have received the secret empowerment or the actual empowerment. So in this way I have received the 3 empowerments.
Oh, do you want to? 지라노 왕대 예진이 잡고 성길래 오는더니 속차타노 쉐로리 대나요 왕진데 저 대왕자지마도 지라 왕대 성길라고 하던데
가도
성길
생기도
하던데 또 뭐야 라라 너무 싫었지 뭐 싫었지 다 린즈다 때문에 내 가졌다.
So then she replied, oh, the empowerments that you have received truly are very precious. Even when wild animals were to come, they would startle. So they are very precious. They are as powerful as a lion. So her answer, her reply, shows that she is very high in wisdom.
제가 왕자 아직 못하고 딱 저는 이 피 가르쳐야 있는. 피 강글이. 저 다음 보통 제가 세티 천리 당보 주 이동다 하도 싸는 땅. 이제 더 나서는 봐. 몸집이 세티에 세티가 있는. 저 다음 보통 제가 있는. 이 그런 다운 사람 별아. 그러니까 놀이도 봐. 몸집이 나는 세부대로 하고야 나를 치고 독성 이 코네 이 디시 나도 아유 같은 자람이 봐도 양이 들어지 파 인간에 봐 차서 동지 피포
얘기해봐.
예 요함이다 이미 요함에 동지 독성
So then she said, so these were the empowerments that you received. What kind of instructions did you receive? And he said, the outer instructions that I received were listening and pondering and meditating on the Dharma. I have put it into practice. The inner teachings that I have received was understanding the nature of my mind, and the actual the actual instructions that I have received was practicing with mindful awareness, conscientiousness, and non-distraction.
다 지나면 치수가 됐더니 무슨 메롱을 야답하는 데들이 치료해야 돼. 메롱을 똑바로나 대 파시게로 이사오는 거와 메롱 야답하다고 치료도 깨닫지만 더.
So then she replied, "Oh, the instructions that you have received are as clear as a mirror, untainted, unstained. They are truly very precious."
제가 트리게 student는 제가 수업을 손으로 제가 수업을 손으로 남들 빨라 교대지 뭐 교지 봐서 가르쳐 교지 가르쳐 와야 되는 교지 와야 돼서
가타노 주다주가
어쨌든 남들 봐서 하면 수업으로 교지 제게도 내 가르쳐요 그래서 다 봐서
So then she said, so you have received instructions. Have you also meditated in mountain retreat? You yogis, you practice the Chud practice. Have you practiced Chud practice?
서기사를 주 저기 세주래 가사가 니사 주지만 우리 제거래 대포도 주거래 아무소다다 나디니 지는 김남치 보여래 맞아. 보고 잠시 서로 잡사는 거나 이제는 노트로 말아. 아마면 노트로 제기 거래. 진짜 가르쳐. 나지 류들이. 류들이 지금 봐도 마치게 세요. 마치게 세요. 자. 기우지나 걸 나지 되고 저는 지금 나오지 거래. 그러나 기우들이 저 통보나. 저 데이터 통보도 아이도 저 통보도 기우. 지금 나중에 대체는 이사를 통해서 잘라서 신나셔야 돼. 다섯 달 정도니까 노여라. 이사를 통해서 세 주에 됐어. 이사를 통해서 세 주. 홍보진들 좀 남겨주고 이사를 통해서 가르쳐 버리거든. 루데 나는 말했어. 문제는 뭐지? 싫어도 루포 플라도요. 루포도 그냥 나 말했어. 저 나도 손을 막 들었더니 교회만 보이는 걸로. 그래서 가르치는 제는 막 룰을 나중에 내가 되는 말을 그가 이사를 보고 그래. 홍보 중대 제가 나는 거.
So then he replied, being in mountain retreat is the outer Chud that I have practiced. That means not being afraid of any dangers, just secluding to dangerous places without any fear is the outer Chud. Generally, the reason why we are afraid, why we have fear, is because of our self-grasping. For example, when the children at night have to go to the restroom, then they only go together with their mother because they are so afraid. That is because they have self-grasping. They think, somebody may kill me, somebody may hurt me. Or the little birds who come to drink water, they drink water and then they drink, and at every moment they look around and they watch whether somebody is coming to harm them or not, and in an instant they fly away. That is because they are afraid, and that fear is self-grasping. So therefore, saying I'm secluding to mountain retreat, to a dangerous place, whether I die or not, I have no concern. That is the outer Chud. The inner Chud is not grasping at the body to be self, to be I. I am not my body. When I have died, my body is left over. The reason why we are suffering is because we are holding on to an I, to a self. So the inner Chud means whatever happens to my body, I don't mind. I am secluding and practice in a dangerous place. This is the inner Chud.
니 때문에 이제 사모야 뻗단 거래. 다 무슨 양심이다. 니 때문에 된 거래. 강의들은 무슨 줄에 대파 요장 나디 쳐보자 다 나디 참아서 나디 참이 나디에 나요래 니들은 냠이 있잖아 나다 무슨 냠이 참지 따와 차다 무도 지나 토마들이 메다 법적 풀고도 야 진짜 가리리 오래 추추지게나 토마 메다 풀고도 가리지고 오래잖아 야 나도 추적 안 좋고 니나 생긴 당시에 돈은 니니 상공도 내 주인이 잡는 데 가면도 당시에 나디에 이보래 자세 라리는 좀 동의 말이 나디에 돌이 요 나디에 이보 화다나 쓰고요 상로 당당하고 딱 좋지만 나디 찐 삼지 쪽이 그 와 나디 찐 뭐지는 게 그요 이거로 상로야 보다 말해
So this is something that we really need to consider very well. We need to think about that very well. That is very essential for our true Dharma practice, because even if we have strong devotion to the Dharma, if we still have strong self-grasping, self-clinging, we will still be left, we will still miss out. So therefore, it is the very root of all practice to eliminate our self-grasping. When we practice the preliminary practices before we start, we are always offering a mandala beforehand. All those practices, offering a mandala, thinking of the sake of sentient beings, they are all methods or antidotes against self-grasping. Also, as it is said in the 37 Bodhisattva practices, all suffering without exception comes from wishing for one's own happiness. So it is that self-grasping that we need to cut through. That is something that we really need to consider well.
나디는 동해 요구로 왔대 원래 동해 말이 나디는 동해 가리 좀 따다 따면서 다다 소토가 나다 정리 니 로아를 너무 생기는데 나디는 뒤에 고발 참여해 가리들 참여하는 루이드 시송은 세부 나디다 맞았나 나디 우선 따가를 양짤 루이드 고도 근데 양고발이 양짤 고고요 원래 지잖아 원래 진짜 루이드 탑탑이 동해가 랑기 레 아포사카 요만 유모가 랑기 그 루이드가 로아를 놓고 있어요 로아를 동해 메사로 요 말이 뒤에서는 따세 잠시 동해에 따라 나디는 톡도 쓰나 따서대나 자세라니 도저히 지나는 정도로 최저 공부 이제 좀 싸워 사족 성은 너들 기빈을 놓지는 나지미 그러고래 무슨 생기 담게 되어서 인상게 되어 요래 갈 나지미 같아 나 맞잖아 인상아 어래 기빈을 놓고 피받은 내리죠 주장이 되잖아 나오 나와지는 그게 또 잡히고 말이야 어래 지선을 나도 좀 지내는 시나 근데 나는 지나 피만 더 가면 진짜 딱지 안 거래 그러나
Self-grasping leads to suffering, and if there is no self-grasping, we will not experience suffering. Consider this. All the sentient beings wandering about in the 6 types of transmigration are wandering there depending on their self-grasping. Depending on their self-grasping, they over and over again wander around in samsara. After their body has died, because they have not separated yet from self-grasping, when the body has died, has separated from the consciousness, then the consciousness again is seeking a body. The consciousness again wants a body, and therefore again a body is established. And as soon as a body is established, it is in the nature of suffering. So in this way, taking other bodies over and over again, we wander about in the 6 types of transmigration. And there is truly only suffering to be found in all the transmigrations. And the very root of all this suffering is self-grasping. the very roots of the 37 Bodhisattva practices and the 84,000 articles of the Buddha, is a method to bring about the wish to benefit others and bodhicitta. They are all methods to eliminate our self-grasping. As soon as we have bodhicitta in our mind and we have the wish to benefit others, when we think of others, self-grasping naturally will diminish. All those teachings are a method to eliminate our self-grasping. If we are not thinking of a self, then if we think of others, then self-grasping will naturally be decreasing. But if we are thinking only of ourselves, only of that I, then the Dhamma practice will not become pure. So you have to understand the fault of self-grasping, and also have to investigate whether there is any benefit at all when one has self-grasping or not. So if we were to think that now I need to get rid of self-grasping and therefore I need to abandon everything, I need to abandon all of life, that is not quite correct, because there is a difference between the view and the behavior. It is the behavior, we still can outward in our behavior, we still have to work and we have to engage in those activities, but our mind, our view should be without self-grasping. Also in the Bodhisattva practices it is said, however much we are holding on to the self, however hard we try, if we do not have the karma from a previous life, then we will not be able to gather what we are wishing for. And if we have the karma from a previous life and we have no self-grasping, then even though we don't try, it will just naturally come. So there's nothing we can alternate through self-grasping. It really depends on our own karma. For example, I have to ask Rinpoche something.
Kind of tambole della specie.
도가 나오는 도가 참아 거리 컴바 좀 따라 참아 또 근데 비는 따라 주. 저 주는데 다다 아메리카로 말려요. 아메리카도 말려 나도 가고 뭐라요 우리 참아요. 지금 나 말이 소속 수다도 나와서 토는 거야. 참아라 소나요. 나중에 나중에 참아 코서 나중에 핀도요 말이야. 나도 나중에 소속 수다 짜야 나중에 토는 거야. 수다 또 치고래 나중에 또 치고 말이야. 나지도 그거 말이 이제 봐도 저봐 그거 서서 가라야 뭐싹 가는 이렇게 sempre bem examinando sábado exame só não tem mesmo 이거 제거 올리가 지는 게 이상한 사람 말이 이거 딱딱 제거라 아메리카로 봐 가이게 세부 때 나중에 뭐서 매서 내고 말이 제 가지고 제는 뒤가면 양말 쪼고 같이 류창도 파대 양말 조감을 매라면 오래 무슨 거야 약고 주는 저는 저기 약고 주 저기 약고 약고 무슨 느낌으로 만들어서 되잖아 다지 미 봐봐 오늘의 초콜릿 엄마 초콜릿 세부들 다지 또 세부들 다지 그래 홍보지도 저 남도 조건은 뭐 말해 상관들 살아 저도 조건은 늘 상관으로 조건만 나와는 거 말이야 아주 콜라도 그래 자세히 나리는 좀 류는 좀 한다고 저래 어떤 남기 어떤 동한 인지라 어떻게 그것은 좀 강제 류제로 강 납치도 납치도 뭐라고 그래 때는 가르쳐서 홍보지도 좀 조건은 뭐 말해 이라 따따따 참만 좀 봐도 그러고 또 다른 조건 좀 봤다고 그러라 납치 살아오는 거 저리 또 그러면 조건을 다 거자자 대표라
So, for example, Tibetans who have been very poor in Tibet and they have left everything, they have even left their own clothes and everything that they had, and they went over the mountains to escape. And now many of them have come here and they have everything they need and they are quite prosperous here. But all that is impermanent. All phenomena, everything compounded is impermanent, and it is depending on our previous actions from our previous life. If we do have the karma from a previous life, then we do not have to try very hard, but it will naturally happen. And if we do not have the karma from a previous life, then no matter how hard we try, it will not happen. So self-grasping does not do anything to it at all. It does not change our karma where it has to go. So therefore we have to understand that self-grasping has no essence to it at all. When there is no self-grasping in one's mind, then even though maybe one is very prosperous, it will not harm one at all. So it depends really on one's own self-grasping. When we are offering the mandala, or when we are offering all our wealth and possessions, when we are even offering our own body, all our roots of virtue, we offer them all to the three jewels. After we have accumulated, for example, 100,000 mandala accumulations, we have offered them all to the three jewels, even including ourselves. We have offered everything to the three jewels. They are all those practices are methods to decrease our self-grasping, being generous, offering mandala, making offerings. All those practices are only methods to eliminate our self-grasping. Many teachings, many dharmas have been taught, but they are all an antidote, a remedy against our self-grasping. So it is not said that we need to abandon everything and give everything up. Of course, in this country we need to work, we need to do ordinary work, but we can do that without self-grasping. We have to understand that body itself is not me. The body is just like a guest house, as it is said in the 37 practices, and the consciousness is like the guest that will cast aside the guest house when it leaves the body. So it will just leave the body behind without any independence, and the body will be just left. And then the third truth, the actual truth, is realizing the actual nature of one's mind. So first one may look for that self, for that I. Where is that I? Is it all my possessions? Is it all my identity? Is it all my body? So we will not be able to find it there. Okay, then one may say, oh, then myself, my I is the mind. I am my mind. But if you look at the nature of your mind, all you will see is its nature being clear and empty, the nature of clarity being emptiness, and the nature of emptiness being clarity. When you look at it, it is just abiding like space, just like the sky. You will not find any mind. Nothing can be found. And that the knower of this emptiness is clarity. So it is a union of emptiness and clarity. The mind can neither said to be existent, nor can it said to be non-existent. If you look for it, you will not find it. If you look for the I in the mind, you will not find it. So to see its nature as it is just like a molten ice block. First we are like a solid, hard ice block. But as we realize the nature of our mind, which is selflessness, it is like the ice block having molten into water. Then even all outer things that appear, there is just nothing to them. They are empty of self-nature. This is the ultimate, the absolute truth, meaning realizing the nature of mind.
나디들 때문에 최근 차롬도 차들 와대 나디 때문에 최처럼 최나게 봐 대시송아 이 사족 생태 저다래 simply something 차롬 다래 이 셈이 강을 정화상 돌아지 정리되는 차롬대 정제라 이게 나디는 뭐가 거기는 차롬대 쇼송아 simply something 이제 상기에 지와지 차롬대 처리에 사제라. 우리 소소소소 사제도 그대로 바꿔보라.
So our self-grasping is like the cold that lets the water freeze to an ice block. And if we do not have self-grasping, then that ice block is melting into water. Without self-grasping, it is just like water. And bodhicitta is the heat that melts the ice block. Sentient beings are like the ice block, solid, hard. That is sentient beings. If it is melting, sentient beings are liberated. This is the water. So this is something we clearly need to understand. Understand that the Buddha itself is established in ourselves.
Yeah, I told you that already. You do that only. Pay the holiday. Do pick up the holiday in the drive.
So after that, the girl said, so this is so your truth practice. So what does it mean that you always are screaming pet, pet, pet in your truth practice? What does that mean?
페이지와데 나또 돌아왔다 새 페이지서 나도 보면 이제 봤다면 나도 샘도 자잖아 코도 대면서 샘도 오르래 지금이 팩 이거는 나도 샘도 통찰에 나도 유치해 살아 나도 돌아왔다 새 페이지 그래서 와서 나도 참선 이 코에 공점 염이게 남이 제도 이 고도로 이 고도 그냥 팩 이렇게 빼서 오는 걸 그래서 와서 난급해 얘 있잖아 이 빨리 다 샘서 오는 이 내로 나와도 봐 먼저 패서 내로 나와도 봐 먼저 패서所以那报头啊，出流，那是他什么啊？生了这个你把你这个牵手，是我吧？哦，这个东西可以这个，我内陆讲了的话，sem内陆인도아 되니 많이 니가 니마고 뭐마고 나도 사람 마서 진짜 사람 봐서 동지가나 나내 갖고 요래 이 동지 페이인데요. 아고 뭐 이제 좀 페이다 버다 처음에 뭐 왔다 봤어요. 페이
I'll try. So she asked him, what does this pet mean that you always say? And he says, so there is the outer pet, which means when concepts are arising that are really strong concepts that do not let us rest and that constantly distract our mind, then in that moment when we say a very loud pet, then the concept immediately, we are focused and the concept immediately goes. That stream of concepts immediately is broken. So that is the outer pet. Then the inner pet is the one where we get sleepy, where we get foggy, and we are meditating, but we think I'm getting tired and I'd rather sleep. So then, in order to get back that clarity, we say to wake ourselves up, we say a very loud pet again, and again our mind gets very clear. So that is the inner pet. And then the absolute or the ultimate pet is when we, which is kind of the resultant one, where it is where we are not sleepy anymore, we are not foggy anymore, we are not distracted, we are just in that perfect state of clarity, where there's no distraction, where the mind is very clear. So in that sense, this one is like the resultant or the ultimate pet.
그리고 공이 쭉이게 목을 링 따로래 제라서 공이 쭉쭉 짜지 뭐 사절 총만 바로 벌어나 그래 삽신 삼시 총총을 다 아메리카 남다도와 나도 총자 아메리카 남다도 코나 바로 자 지금 참 해고 나 지금 세 아메리카 남다도 코 해고 막그 파카를 쌓아서 그때 나팔 그 사절 총 나팔 벌어는 이 때다 지금 없지 쭉대 사절 총 나오고 그래서
4,000번 하죠.
4,000번. 네, 아무래도 나가도 좋아. 뭐 자성을 시켜봐. 고시에서 직접은 고시를 일기로 말이야. 대답을 해야지. 페이지에 감자를 그냥 야못이 뭐고 마동 따로나 마음이 참아 가사까지 뭐지도 마동 내서 깜짝 놀라. 어디 말을 동도 안 하지. 페이지 마동 말을 말을 다 됐지 빨리 막 오게 말을 동다오나 막을 참아 가서 놀라. 내가 보나
So she said, before we came to the pet, when we left something else, and she said, so your church practice is truly very precious. It is like a very, like an eagle, a very large bird that does not have to be afraid of any other bird. And when the eagle flies in the sky, then all the smaller birds are being afraid. So this is likened to your church practice. And then your pet practice is truly precious. It is just like the sound of like the army, the soldiers when they're blowing to like a big trumpet, yeah. So immediately all the soldiers who hear that they will jump up and run immediately. So this is likened to the pet practice.
페이지에다가 냠이 정신 담지 냠용 것들인데 냠성 용어야 요래 되나 어래 강애들 빼는데 페이지 막을 동당하는 게 레데 남도와 뭐 말한 거 뭐 시락치를 빠지 동물들이 하고 어래 되나 마소는 야 샘남도 삼도 남도 접점 막 버티는 저 제대로나 팩 내다들이 진짜 매화 차노요. 오, 때 은혜래비 남이 그때 저 싸움도 솔직히 남이 있잖아. 때 고았었고, 때다 은혜래 남이 처음에 남농 줘야요. 우리 다 뒤에 말을 동다는 일도 뭐 그렇게 양당들 왜? 말을 동다는 말을 동다는 공을 딴 그래.
Yeah. So this pet is something that we actually need to practice. We actually can learn and put it into practice. Like the girl has said, it is just like the sound of like the trumpet of from the army, and that is really a sign of her great wisdom. Because usually when we practice, we have an uninterrupted stream current of concepts constantly popping up and arising. And then when we scream pet very strongly, then all those concepts and all mental thinking and so on will be stabilized. So this is really true, and it really has a very profound meaning, a very profound understanding to grasp. When Rinpoche said, when Rinpoche is making that sound, it sounds just like the like really loud.
Okay. Please sit.